Quran manuscripts with corrections of the word Allah? If so, stick around. That's exactly what we're going to do today, just after I answer a few of your questions from recent videos. In my book, Corrections in Early Quran Manuscripts, I speak about, in example 3, corrections involving the word Allah. And there I give 9 examples of corrections involving the word Allah, pages 34 to 44, and give some discussion about those. The reason I included that in my book is that I had come across about a dozen examples involving corrections, insertions of Allah, and there are many other places, numerous other places where there are corrections involving the word Allah. Now, that should not be at all surprising, given the fact that the word Allah occurs in the Quran over 2,800 times. It's a very frequently occurring word, so we shouldn't be necessarily surprised that it's corrected frequently. However, there were interesting features about the corrections that I had found, in particular a number of places in a single manuscript or several manuscript fragments coming originally from the same manuscript, from the same bound book, had insertions of Allah after the fact that had been omitted at the time of first writing, and the density of those was surprising to me. I'm not going to go into all those things today. I am, however, going to give you several examples of the types of corrections involving Allah. One involving the replacement of the word Allah with, where the word Allah replaces the pronoun. So the first one we're looking at today is from Marcel 5, folio 11R. This is in St. Petersburg. And this comes from Surah 34, verse 27. It is the only instance of Allah in this verse, and as it was written in this manuscript, it looks like it was omitted at the time of first writing, and the huwa, he is, was the only thing written. So the verse as it was first written appears to have said, "Say, show me those you have attached to him as associates. He is rather the Almighty, the All-Wise." As opposed to how it reads today, which is, "Show me those you have attached to him as associates. Allah is rather the Mighty, the All-Wise." So that is one example of the replacement of the pronoun with the word Allah, and there are several others in this chapter that I just submitted for this volume. The second manuscript I'm going to show you today is an insertion of Allah. As you can see, it was later than the time of original production. It's clearly a different nib and ink. It looks almost as though it could have been done in modern times. And the verse is Al-Araf 44. The word preceding the correction here, so the Allah is written in as superscript, but the word just slightly to the right of that is the word la'natu, which means curse. So as it's written now in this manuscript, it reads la'natullahi ala zalimin, meaning the curse of Allah is upon the wrongdoers, or may Allah's curse be upon the wrongdoers. And as it was first written in this manuscript without the word Allah, it would have said la'natu ala azalimin, a curse is upon, or may a curse be upon the wrongdoers. And so it makes sense, and by the way it exists in this manuscript now with the Allah there is the way that it exists in the Hafs text. All right, moving on, we're going to go to the last pair of corrections in different manuscripts at the same verse, and that verse is Surat Al-Ahzab 73, and both of these have the word, well, the first one is Marcel 11, which is in St. Petersburg. It's on 10 verso, and you can see that there has been an insertion of the word Allah here. And as I believe it first read in this manuscript, it was written, "Wa yatuba Allah al-mu'minina wal-mu'minat," that he might pardon the believing men and the believing women. And I believe what was done is it was erased, and the word Allah was written in here because that is the explicit object, and it is now in conformity with what is the standard Hafs text. So the second, and that was actually the second correction of this verse that I came across. The first one we'll flip over to now is in BNF Arab 340, and I mentioned this one in my doctoral dissertation. It's on folio 23 verso at line 16, and the superior text here starts in the same verse actually of al-mushrikeen at the earlier in the verse, and it goes through the word Allah, which is right after the word Allah that was inserted above here, and that is the leftmost word in the previous slide. So this whole portion of text, it is the last line of the page, has been erased and overwritten. It's a little bit bunched in, although you see it is stretched out. The word Allah is stretched out there at the end of the line. The word Allah is a little bit bunched in there too, but not too bunched compared to the rest of the page. But you can see that this is a narrower nib, probably a different scribe and sometime post-production, although it's not entirely certain. It's possible that it was something that was done by a second scribe somewhere as part of the original production process. So that's all that I'm going to show you today, and I just wanted to run that example of 2 verses by you that are corrected in the same spot, not to suggest that the same issue is going on here, because I don't think it necessarily was. In fact, I would be surprised that it was, because it would be easier, it would have been easier to correct it without erasing the whole line if what was done in the operation in the first instance was similarly what was done in the second one. But we do have an overlap of corrections at the same spot, and I just wanted to whet your appetite a little bit, because in coming weeks, and I'm not sure if it'll be the next video, but in coming weeks I do have a verse in the Quran that has been corrected in at least 4 different manuscripts, the same portion of text or an overlapping portion corrected in multiple manuscripts. So I will be going over that at some future video, maybe soon. And I do want to remind you that we have now set up the Patreon account. If you are interested in helping me out in doing this, making this work possible for me, I do appreciate your help, and you can see the link below in the description box. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you again next time.